have to have a technology in place to support it as well. That's what is important. Now, let's look at accountants adding value, right? And this came true from CPA magazine as well. So one of the 4 areas that we add value would be looking at ESG reporting, environmental, social, governance reporting, factoring in the carbon, right? Integrated reporting, sustainable debt financing. You can see there is a lot of areas that we can add value. Now, I think Binod mentioned areas, where we become complacent. You will become complacent. You will stay in one place if you don't really look at what's happening in the world. And even though you've got 5 qualifications, it will not be of any value to the business, to other organizations, if you've not kept up pace with what's happening in the ecosystem. And that's the reason why you constantly have to keep up with what's happening, and particularly in the space of technology and what's going on. So there is a huge opportunity. I've just spoken in the UK, and I saw massive opportunities there as well for accountants. And even here in Australia, I can see massive opportunities, and even in the Middle East, because you would see that more and more companies are moving into the Web3 space, using that technology to take us to that next level. It's like the internet coming on. So this is one such company with the HBAR Foundation, or Hedera. Do you want to give a little bit of a highlight here, Arvind?
Yeah, sure. So see, there are different types of blockchains which I highlighted in my presentation, right? Public blockchain and private blockchain. Now, if you look at Hedera is a public permissioned blockchain, okay, where there are around 33 governing council members, a group of companies across the world who are contributing computing power to this network called Hedera. And all the projects of global interest, sustainability interest, come into life with coordinated efforts across the world. So they are creating a trust layer with a public blockchain, and on top of it, organizations can build applications and deploy them. Yeah.
Thank you. So that is a very high level view of Hedera and HBAR, what they're doing. So this particular company, Tolam Earth, they are looking at carbon buying, selling carbon assets. So they are like an exchange, isn't it? What's happening is, well, they're using a particular technology to validate what you're saying is the truth. That's what they're trying to do, basically. With this technology, what are we trying to do? What we are trying to do is to validate what we are saying is the truth, because there's money involved, reputation at stake as well. So this is that marketplace. This is what Tolam Earth is. And there are many such organizations that's coming on, new organizations that's popping up across the world. Now, the question is, all of these organizations do require finance people. Are we ready to support them? So this is where that opportunity comes on to say, well, here you go. There is an opportunity. Have you got the knowledge to support these sort of companies? Now, another company, Evercity, that is the underlying technology, is Hedera again, and they are using green debt and carbon originating platform. Again, it's a software as a service, a tool that is being offered to the community. Here again, we are in a position to play a strong role in that green debt space. A lot of the companies, even in Australia, are going into a green debt. Yeah. And how are we funding it? And we are looking at possibilities of funding certain projects. So this particular company is really, really cutting edge. And again, this might be one of the first few that has started, but certainly not the last. Many more are coming on. I thought of giving you guys a really good view of actual case studies where technology is being used, because Arvind stated some of the technical background of different types of blockchains, how we use them. But I thought it is really good for us to then explore where has it been utilized. Then again, green debt and carbon originating platform, this Evercity, I spoke to you about this just now. And this is another company. This company is in Australia as well, Avery Dennison, Australia. They make the supply chain transparent. Again, they're on Hedera. So I believe IDS has another platform. Would you like to talk about that, Arvind?
Yes. So we have built a platform by name Trust Flow. So today we know supply chain contributes predominantly most of the business. And if you carefully observe, it's a multi-tier system. And supply chain is essentially the flow of goods, flow of information, and flow of money. But trust is something which is not flowing. And that is why we brought an application based out of blockchain, where we bring all these ERP application of all these stakeholders to talk to a common layer called blockchain, a shared ledger. And all the stakeholders have near real-time visibility to what is happening on the system. So that way, we brought this platform called Trust Flow, which is being utilized by pharma companies for end-to-end track and trace serialization, and also oil and gas companies, energy accounting companies for energy accounting. So there are multiple supply chains, because at the end of the day, it's only the nature of good which changes. Supply chain is supply chain, right? And now we are also taking our work to central banks, so that CBDCs can become the financial layer on top of which trade finance, cross-border payments, and certain use cases can be incorporated. So so and IDS is one of the system integrator, one of the few system integrators for Hedera Hashgraph Foundation.
That's right. So I think we will be wondering, all of us are familiar with ERPs, right? ERPs, they are very siloed, as Arvind mentioned. It's in a siloed fashion. It's only applicable to that particular company. Whereas when it comes to the blockchain space or the Web3 space, we're looking at, it is, you're linking multiple organizations together to support a massive process, a very good process that will serve the community. And this is one of those technologies that's really supporting the community, and there is that trust across the flow that takes place. So I think all of you might know this person. I thought it is let's look at things away from traditional corporate to music, right? Arvind, anything that you want to add with music industry and the NFT platforms, how that is being utilized?
I think by this time, they all heard Web3 for quite number of times, and they might be wondering, okay, how it is different from Web1 and Web2. Yes,
Correct.
that is the thing. Let me quickly add that and then I'll come to NFT because there is a very strong correlation there. Now, if you look at Web 1, the early websites we saw in very early days, like 1990s, it's Web 1, read-only web. You can only read. It is static information available on the website. Now, if you come to Web 2, it is like 2000s, where we saw this blog posts and Wikipedia, Gmail, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, read and write, right? We can read the content, but also we can upload and create or share content. So Web 2, all the companies which we are experiencing today are Web 2 companies where you can read and write. But one thing crazy happened with Web 2. The point is centralization. Now let's assume a simple example of Facebook. Now, if you take Facebook, imagine Facebook blocked your account. What happens? All your data is still with them, but you can't access it. Now tell me, who is owner?
It is Meta, isn't it? But it is
Right?
your data.
Actually, the data ownership or that owners of data is the user, but the control is with the service provider. And that is why now we are evolving ourselves or iterating ourselves into Web3, which is read, write, own.
Absolutely.
The beauty is read, write, but also own or control your data. So that is why sometimes Web3 is all about democratization of data ownership. Because what happens now, let's assume decentralized Facebook. Let's assume there is decentralized Facebook. Then what happens? All your data, connections, everything is stored in your wallet. And you are only connecting your wallet to the service provider to access your data. Now, tomorrow, if Facebook says, hey, we don't want you to engage with our application, then I can carry all my data in my wallet, connect to a new social media service provider and access my data. Second, now coming to NFTs. Now, say for example, I took a beautiful pic of sunrise and I uploaded it to internet and someone just downloaded it and sold it. Now, how do I prove that it is mine? How do I prove my ownership? That is practically impossible in Web 2. But in Web 3, you can actually mint that meta image as an NFT, non-fungible token. That means it is unique. All the metadata, everything is stored on blockchain immutably. And that image ownership is against my wallet. Now I can transfer my ownership. I can sell it or I can give it for loyalty. So these are all use cases of NFTs. And I think this is what is happening with A.R. Rahman, where all his music, rather than he selling through third-party music distributors, where they take a major chunk, he can directly sell it as NFTs and people will directly pay to him. And disintermediation of these distributors is happening, which is a value add.
Absolutely. And you can see in the music industry, and I have been talking to sports personnel in the NRL and a lot of sports personnel here as well. And they tell me the kind of not so nice relationships that they go through with their clubs and with their agents, etc. Right? And this way, you're able to control your identity, your music, your art, etc. So that's the beauty of it. And again, I think we treat, then now we've got a different type of an asset as well. So us accountants, we're always conscious about, how do you create assets? Now you can see, rather than a physical asset, we've got a intangible asset. How do you value it? These are very, very interesting things that are coming on, and we need to come up with the ways of valuing. So it's very easy for us to value a building, right? but how do you value an NFT? How do you value certain intangible assets that are there? And these assets are making millions and millions of dollars. So I thought, now let's make it more real. Yeah, we have been. So you might think, oh, this is a pie in the sky, so to speak, but it's not. Earlier on this year, there was I went to a particular conference where they spoke. The Minister of Economy in UAE. He said, "Well, we are expecting a 7% growth, GDP growth every year, and we are expecting to create 40,000 plus jobs in the metaverse, right?" And this is the kind of innovation that looking at, and that's entirely through the Web3 space, AI space, and they've got also, of course, a metaverse strategy. Now, it's just mind-blowing to see what's happening in that space. Now, they also, just the other day, DIFC, they announced building a new campus to attract many thousands of companies into this space. Because you can see one of the other things that they've done is they have brought in rules and regulations how to regulate tokens, how to regulate these intangible assets, because it's in the public domain. How do you regulate it? Yeah. So a lot of the other countries in the world, they have not got their head around this space for multiple reasons, but UAE is one of those countries who have gone ahead and very quickly got policies, rules in place. And I guess accountants will love these policies and rules, etc. We know the importance of it. So what the government is doing is attracting other businesses as well, businesses from different parts of the world, again, from India, from the UK, US, Russia, Australia, all over the world to come in and set up companies. They're encouraging it. It's not for they are low tax, but because of the rules and regulations that is there. With that, I want to conclude my presentation today. I'm open for questions, but before I conclude, what I want to tell you guys is in South Australia as well. South Australia is where I am currently. I'm in Adelaide. So Department of Trade and Investment, I'm involved with some of their projects. So one of the things that they're going to be doing is they've come together with some of the key people, banks, universities, and we are hoping to run a hackathon in October, November timeframe. So if you are interested to come into those hackathons, so it's just not only for techies like Arvind and his team, but also for people like us who will formulate strategies, who will work with businesses. This is a great opportunity for you to engage because Hedera is involved in this hackathon as well. And it is a very great space for you to, I think, expose your knowledge and also come in and present yourself and be part of it. Thank you very much. Thanks. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Anju. Really very insightful, and it opened a lot of horizons for us to know exactly what is going around with this space. Certainly mind-boggling to see how the world is fast-paced, and even the Australian government, as I can hear you, what's happening in South Australia, they are coming at par with the global peers. So certainly it's certainly good to know, but it's I think this though we have actually stretched this 2-hour session into close to 2 hours 45 minutes. So I think the subject matter itself was very, very interesting, and the more we know, the more it's intriguing, and we find more interest and people start asking questions. So it's it's a big arena, I would rather say. So the immense possibilities of learning every time, and I hope that people will get connected to you, and they can also learn a bit. As you get connected, they can know a bit more about you, about your education pursuits and other stuff. So with all that, I would thank each and every one of the panelists, Binod, Aravind, and also Samir, our past chair, for moderating this session. So over to you, Samir, for the closing remarks.
Yes, thank you, Harsha. That was very well summed up. Uh, Before I propose a vote of thanks, I just wanted to make a comment. Anju, you did say, talked about, the hackathon, and you did speak about the Hedera and Hebar Foundation. And Arvind did talk about, he touched base upon NFTs and how it linked to A.R. Rahman and his music. And I was just thinking, as accountants, we do create a lot of know-how and knowledge, even if we are working for somebody. We may not be entrepreneurs for ourselves, but we are still working for somebody. Like, for example, you could be doing process improvement mapping, which the company never did before. And that kind of, it is your own know-how, because your experience, your reading, everything you put together and said, here is a process map and here is the improvement and so on. So I was just wondering if an NFT can be created to this knowledge, or even if it is internal to the company, it's not public, and still be related back to the person who created it, because in supply chain, all it means is traceability. From point A, from the point of origin to the point of consumption, final consumption. So effectively, whoever did whatever is tracked through a blockchain. And if we as employees, we as accountants can sort of, tag, this is that bit which I contributed, that'll be so wonderful.
It is definitely, Samir, because, well, being an accountant, I want to make money, right? So it's not only that I would want to say, yes, I contributed, but how do that contribution needs to get converted to money, and how do you track it? That's the difficulty, isn't it? And with this NFT, you're able to, because it has a smart contract. I believe Arvind mentioned about smart contract as well. So this is where you can get paid. Whoever is using it, it doesn't matter. You don't have to know as well, because automatically that contract is there and it'll kick off, and then we can get paid, right? So that's the beauty of it.
And I think to add to that, let me give you one more interesting thing. See, there is browser called Brave browser, okay, which I use typically.
Brave, yeah.
And the beauty of the browser is, for every attention time you are putting on the browser looking at some ads, they give a chunk of the ad revenues they get to you as tokens.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Okay. So I think the future of making money is just that. So every human has their attention time, and every attention time has certain value, and where you put your time is what eventually brings you dividends in the form of tokens. And I think in future you will see very soon people will tokenize their time as well. Okay,
That's a totally very different horizon. It's mind-boggling. I've used Brave quite some time. I didn't knew that it's going to share tokens with you.
yes, it does. It does.
And Harsha, I mean, when you're using, for example, when you're using Facebook, any other site, do they give you anything? Does LinkedIn give us anything in return? Does YouTube give us anything in return? They're expecting us to engage. They really promote us and get us to get involved. But who is
earning? They make the whole money, right?
Exactly.
See, I think that
who owns it?
Blockchain is all about also about shared economy. It creates shared economy. It puts power of data ownership to the hands of people. So I think crypto have diverted the minds of people to something else, but the actual value proposition of blockchain as a technology is something else. And as you know, any technology, when it comes early, there is hype cycle.
Yes.
right? And that is what grabs the attention of all the people. But now I think the hype cycles have gone. People are now talking about the real use cases of sustainable use cases, value driven use cases. And I think we are in good position, and we are still in blockchain because we stick to that values and basics. So
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And yeah, thank you.
Oh, fantastic. It was a fantastic and a very interesting and insightful presentation. So on behalf of our members, I know we have overshot our time, but again, reminding members, if you have questions, please send it to the chapter. We'll convey it back to the presenters and reconnect with the members. But on behalf of the Melbourne chapter, we really appreciate your time, your insights. And I think this was a very, very insightful and an inspiring, presentation. And it just sort of, opens our eyes to new ideas and new possibilities. So thank you very much once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
thanks for the opportunity.
And thanks for the members as well. We really had a good turnout for this.
Certainly, they have taken their time out on the weekend and stayed so far with us for, it over exceeded by an hour. But thank you, all of you, from the core of the heart. Thank you. And we'll
Thank
We
try
made
to
it
bring.
interesting.
Yeah.
We made it interesting.
Yes,
No,
yes,
that's
yes.
excellent.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt.
Thanks for
And
active
we'll try to
participation.
bring many more interesting sessions and relevant sessions like this in the time to come. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.